Welcome to Travel Tales with Debika. When we think about solar eclipse tours, we just think, okay, we're going to go to this place and we're going to see the eclipse from here. And people just come, they sign up, and they go on a trip. And they go, this was a fantastic trip, or they have complaints, but they don't understand behind the scenes what takes place. The calculations, the many trips that the owners of the organizations they take to go to that site to ensure that the eclipse is a clear day, that one can see the eclipse, the totality, the ability to stay there, the food, the transportation. There are many little things that are taken into consideration, but those are the headaches that we tour operators have to think of before we even bring a group with us. It becomes our responsibility, our headache, and if all goes well, we get a pat on the back. Some people, when they complain, it's like they beat you on the head saying, you should have done this and you should have done that. Hindsight, maybe we should have. But we always learn from these experiences. I would love to introduce to you Madhukar Mark Sood. He is the brain behind the solar eclipse tours. He has developed them to what they are today, and people follow him in the travel industry to see where he's going, what he's doing. And let's find out his insight on solar eclipse. So, Mark, how are you?
Thank you, Debika. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on this show, Mark. Second time around.
That's
I'm
true.
excited.
Yes, it is. So am I. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what piqued your interest in the solar eclipse tours? How did it all start?
Well, life gives you opportunities, and you pick on some, you drop some, and I just happen to be fortunate to be in India in 1980 when the eclipse was taking place over there. And working for a tour company, I was assigned to lead a tour, an astronomy tour that was coming to see the eclipse. And to be honest with you, I knew nothing about eclipses, astronomy at that time, more focused on doing a job, taking care of the people. And that was my first experience in 1980. And I was amazed, that people would travel so far off, almost halfway around the world to see a solar eclipse that's going to happen, the totality being just a few minutes. So that kind of intrigued my interest, and that's where I started.
I have another question for you. Why solar eclipse? Why solar eclipse as a tour? What is the reason behind it? Is it because you're fascinated? Is it a passion now? Is it like a drug that you can't let go? You get a high out of it?
I think it's a challenge, the challenge that comes with an eclipse trip, because it's not only you, the whole world is coming to the probably the same area. Sometimes it happens to be the same city, same location. So the challenge of that, what makes me more interested in it, is that it's an opportunity for me to showcase how I can do things differently. And, the whole setup behind it, what goes behind the scenes, then arranging it, and the challenges that come through, and that's what makes me exciting. So it's it's a challenge that comes, and each eclipse is different. Each eclipse experience, the organizing it, and coming through from planning to actually happening, and then the places visiting after that. It makes my job more exciting. So I'm always looking forward to next eclipse and so far, and hopefully, I'll have lived long enough to see more.
You talk about challenges about your solar eclipse, right? Can you talk about one of your challenges in China? I remember you had picked a spot. What happened, and how did you manage to retain that spot?
Well, it's a very, actually each eclipse, I can write a book, and I have stories to tell, from each eclipse, what I've learned and what I've experienced. This one that you're talking about was the longest solar eclipse that we are ever going to see in our lifetime. The totality was over 8-9 minutes, and we picked up a spot up on the hills in China. and it was over a reservoir, and reservoir had two platforms. And as you know, I start planning my tours 2 to 3 years in advance, and I went and selected these two platforms and reserved them for my tour to see it. And as we were having lunch, one day prior to the eclipse, the guide comes running to me and he says, I need to talk to you. And I knew something, there is something, because you're disturbing me during a lunch with the group. So I knew something's wrong. So I got up, went with her to the side, and she said, you know what? The Chinese TV have decided to take your platform. And it's a government thing, it's China, there's nothing we can do. I said, well, I paid for it, and I have my rights, and I am not going to give in that easily. So I'm going to figure out a way that I need to have my the platform where I'm going to see the eclipse from. So we started negotiating, and the guides, because they're working for the government, they are so afraid to be talking to anybody higher up and doing stuff. So and obviously I can't talk to these people directly because I don't speak Chinese. So I needed the guide and translator, and I knew she was shaking up, as I'm pushing. I said, no, I'm not moving. I'm going to see the eclipse. If I have to move the cameras, I will. Well, eventually, to cut the long story short, we finally came to an agreement, and we said, okay, we'll give you a section of the platform where you can film from, and we'll have the other section, but there is no interference. You cannot interfere in our this thing, and we will not interfere in your this thing. And that compromise was made, and it worked. So my tour members knew there's something wrong. There's something going on, because I disappeared after, in between the lunch, and I disappeared. So my regulars naturally asked me what it is, and I said, well, I'll tell you the story tomorrow. But and the funny thing is, it doesn't end over there, because next day when we go to the platform to see the eclipse, of course the TV people are on one side, and we had no problems with that one. But then a Swedish group has taken our spot. So I go to my guide and I said, how can they be here? This platform is for me and for my group. So anyway, we start talking to the Swedish people, and they say, well, we don't know. Our guide told us this is the spot. So I said, well, if you see over there, this sign says it's our spot. And he said, well, we don't read Chinese. I said, I don't read Chinese either. But, it was funny. They were very cooperative. And I told them, I said, look, I am sorry, I don't have enough room to let you sit over here, so you will have to move, which they did. So.
If my memory serves me right, wasn't there another group where, because there was it was cloudy, they decided to go, they didn't want to wait, so they went somewhere else, or was it another eclipse?
Oh, it was a different eclipse, actually. It was in Mongolia, and we were on a mountain, and the eclipse was early in the morning. So we were on a mountain. We had about 3 or 4 groups sitting on the same hill, waiting to see the eclipse. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, one of the attendant, where we was sleeping on the train, came and said, "Oh, it started snowing." So anyway, there's nothing we can do, So we went to the site, and it was snowing, and we just kind of hung out over there. The eclipse started, and it's cloudy. We can't see anything. Okay, so everybody, one by one started leaving. The Canadian group left, the Chinese, the Japanese, they started leaving. And I talked to our astronomy expert, Jay, and I said, Jay, what are we going to do? He says, look, there's the clouds. How far can we go? So we decided that we will stay on there. And by the time the totality started, everybody else around us has left. So we had an American Indian with us, and off his own, he started chanting and doing, some dance. And as the luck would be, when at the time of totality, the clouds parted just about an inch,
Oh my gosh.
inch and a half, and we could see the totality during that period. And I'm told that we were the only ones who saw the totality, because everybody else was gone into different places. So, the luck favors, sometimes good things happen.
But it just goes to show you that these little nuances that take place, these negative, what should I say, experiences that would have thrown anybody else off completely. How did you manage to keep your calm? And what is it? How did you stay calm in order to be able to facilitate your group to see the eclipse? Because if it were me, I would have lost my temper.
Well, there are certain things that are in your control. There are certain things that you have no control over. And Mother Nature happens to be this that you have no control over. So by me getting angry, upset, I'm going to upset everybody else around me. And being the organizer, if I stay calm and quiet, I think that everything else, they will, just by watching me, or at least, we won't have any scenes be created on, So it just helps. I mean, it comes with experience, to be honest with you. I've learned to be patient, and I've had things happen, to me when I'm more calm and quiet and more, happy, than getting angry and throwing a fit, which is really not going to do anything.
I was speaking more on the terms of with dealing with the Chinese news media and the Swedish group coming and trying to take your spot. So I find that every time you do a solar eclipse trip, you're always being tried and tested. If it's not somebody taking your spot, then it's the people that you're trying to coordinate the trip with. They're trying to rip you off financially. You have to protect your clients because you've already given out a price. Hotels want to increase their prices, or they try to cancel your accommodations, right?
Right.
Airlines double the price because then they realize, okay, we should have made money at the time when we gave the contract. What do you do? How do you fight back? How do you win these battles? Because really, it's a lost cause.
It is, things happen. People get greedy. People, the hoteliers want to make more money. Uh, Being in the travel trade for this long that I have been, I have learned, and my experience has taught me how to deal with such situations. And because I start planning my tours 2, 3, 4 years in advance sometimes, I am sometimes able to get to the places even before they know what's going to happen. So that has helped me a lot, and will be giving my secrets out. But being in the travel trade, and I'm doing all the other tours and not just the solar eclipse tours, it has helped me a lot. So yeah, the challenges come, the challenges happen. Hoteliers refuse. Oh, we had. A hotelier came to me and said, we had a computer glitch and we don't see your reservations. So what are you going to do? We were committed to the people. They're expecting, they paid you, they're expecting you to deliver the hotel, the accommodations to them. So you try to figure out a way. So I said, okay, you know what? This is not my problem. And if you're going to deny me the rooms that I have booked and I paid for, I don't want the refund money, to refund me the money and, and walk away from it. I said, I'll fight for it. And, so fortunately, this was in the United States where the law is prevalent, and I could go to the Attorney General's office of the state and say, this is the thing I'm facing. And I got the media involved, and we got our accommodations, they were delivered. So those are the experiences,
Those are rather tough experiences, and it's amazing how you live through them. And then you think about another trip.
We'll try
I
to
must
avoid
say,
it someday.
are you crazy?
Well, yes, once you get the knack of it, you want to do it more and more. So, I'm happy to be doing it.
How do you go about planning your trips? Because, people, I remember the Chile eclipse. You picked this platform, you did it there. And I remember there was another group that was staying at our hotel in La Serena. And they went to some village, some where they left at 1 o'clock in the morning. They drove for X number of hours. And after the eclipse, they had dinner at their site. And they drove over, what was it, 6, 7 hours?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Whereas with us, we went to this platform, and I remember we were in this traffic jam. And for me, I was euphoric because of the eclipse experience. It just took me to a different level. I felt like it was a rebirth. There were those who were complaining, oh, it's so long, when are we getting back? But had I known at that time there was this group that was driving back to Santiago, which was an 8-hour drive, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So they were up all night. They never complained. So what is the contrast? Are these people who travel because they want to say they've seen an eclipse, or is it because they're avid eclipse chasers?
It's a combination. It's a combination. An experienced traveler would take the things as they happen, uh, because you're going to a different country. It's not going to be same as home. So if you're expecting it to be the same as home, you should not be traveling. So that experience that people have traveled before and they've seen the differences, and they accepting that things will happen differently, that makes our life a lot more easier. And actually there is a lot more planning into it. Okay, selecting a site, why are you going to be seeing the eclipse from here, all the research that the scientists have done. We consult them. We consult Jay Anderson for his weather forecasts, the studies that he does. He uses Zubier for his maps and locations. And then also, we see where everybody else is going. Now you got to pick a spot where you want to avoid the traffic. For example, like you said in La Serena, where we were staying, it was only 45 minutes away from the site that I had selected. But I knew when I went there 2 years before, I had seen my competition doing. I wanted, what tours they were offering, where they were going. Now I have to select a site where I can be different. Okay, so looking through the Zubier maps, we looked at the locations and we did a recce trip, and then the effects. You could see the eclipse from La Serena, but then there's going to be marine cloud layers over there, and what if that happens? So you got to cover all that aspects. You have to do the study. So so I happened to pick this village of La Higuera, which was kind of in a valley surrounded by high mountains, which when I was there, I knew that it'll keep the marine layer out. So we at least took care of that part. And then I looked at how are we going to get from La Serena to La Higuera. If I went to the Alki Valley, there was only a 2-lane road. Whereas to La Higuera, there was a 4-lane road. It's a Pan American highway taking us there.
Right.
So I think my chances of getting to the place in time and not be stuck in the jam or traffic would have been much better. So I calculated all that stuff, and then I picked up a site high up on the mountain where because the eclipse was going to end during the sunset, so we didn't want to miss all that part. So I had to go at a higher platform. So all this experience that I have done 16, 17 eclipses before helped me pick a site that worked out better. And then the next challenge comes is how to keep it as a secret, because
Yes.
if you publicize it, the others are going to follow you, because they're also, like, you are watching them, they're also watching you.
Right.
As to what you're doing. So the idea to keep it quiet and not let anybody know until the day comes, that's what your game plan is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. And this time we were pretty much successful. We were probably the only group that was at our site. I mean, there were other locals who were at the village and all, but so we did manage to secure a good place and a good site for ourselves.
Well, I have to say that when we were leaving the hotel, one of the buses broke down. And some of the people came to me, "We paid for the eclipse." I said, "You paid for the eclipse?" "Yes." I said, "Then you're going to the eclipse." "But the bus broke down." I said, "You don't worry about the bus breaking down. We'll get you on the bus." I remember that. So I was putting everybody on different buses so they could get on the site. And they're saying, "But Debika, aren't you coming?" And they felt like they were lost because I wasn't going on the bus with them. I said, "No, you're more important than I am. You go. I'll meet up with you later." But it's funny how you have to think on your feet.
Yes.
And you have to have a sense of humor, and you have to know how to talk to them and
Right.
appease them.
Right. You see, the thing is, things are going to happen. These
Yes.
breakdowns will happen, okay? I mean, coming back, as you remember, from La Higuera,
Yes.
I mean, it took us in the morning 40, 45 minutes to get there. But
Right.
coming back, we got into a traffic jam. It took us
Yeah.
4 to 5 hours,
Right.
So some of the people complained, oh, okay, there are no toilet breaks or anything. Fortunately, some of the bigger buses had toilets, so we could use it. But a couple of the other buses that we had didn't have the toilets because they're smaller buses.
Right.
So, so people complain about it. But I mean, what do you say to them? Did I anticipate that it is going to be a 4 or 5 hours drive back?
No.
No. Could I have planned for it? No, I have. I've taken all the precautions that I felt that could happen, and it didn't happen. I mean, a lot of people missed their dinner that night because leaving after sunset and 4 hours, 5 hours to La Serena, we only got there around 10:30, 11 at night. Some people still went and had dinner, but some missed it. But that's part of the game, And people complimented us as
Yes.
we didn't care about missing the dinner.
Yeah.
We didn't care about the traffic jam because we saw a perfect eclipse.
Exactly.
So you just have to take that.
I wanted to ask you your relationship with Jay Pasakoff. He's such an amazing scientist. I sometimes hesitate to get into a conversation with him because he gets very technical, and I walk out thinking I must be an idiot because I haven't understood one word of what he said. But it's also, in a way, very interesting to hear him speak because he not only speaks with authority, you hear the passion with which he lays out his knowledge to you, and you get drawn by it. Can you talk about the first time you met with him and what compels you to work with him time and time again?
It's been a unique experience, a unique match that we have, match for each other. His knowledge in astronomy helps bring people, attract more people to our tours. Uh, my expertise in the travel helps match that his expertise. So we come and we meet. Where he does his job and I do my job, and we don't interfere in anything. He has the trust in my ability, and I know as an astronomer, as an author who's written so many books and everything, and he's teaching astronomy. His expertise is important to me also. So. And we just seem to have a liking for each other, and we worked since 1980, together on the eclipses. I think the only part we missed was when 1980 to 1994, when I was in India and he was here in US, we couldn't connect. But when I moved to the US in 1984, I was looking for him, and I finally found him in 94. And 95 we started again. And since then, we have not stopped. We've been to every eclipse.
I know we always talk about Jay, but we never talk about his wife, Naomi, because I feel she is the force behind him.
She is. Mm-hmm.
She's an amazing lady, very
is.
smart herself, highly intelligent.
Yes.
She's written some books herself, right?
She has. I am not, I don't have much, knowledge of what she has done, but I know. And, she is a helping hand to Jay because Jay is so lost in his own world, and he needs somebody to help him, with the equipment and all the stuff that he's carrying and all the multitasking that he's doing. She is very nice and very helpful to him, making sure that he is eaten, making sure that he is, waking up at the time and taking care of all his appointments and everything. And it's always really a pleasure to have Naomi on the tours with us. And actually, to be honest with you, I insist, as you know, I insist for her to come on the tours,
Have you ever felt that you needed to go to Naomi to help you convince Jay to do something? Or does Jay listen to you?
No, Jay is the type of person who doesn't listen to anybody. I mean, I can put him, and tell him much more than Naomi could, because this is a husband-wife
Of course,
relationship.
it's a
That's
different
total
dynamics.
Different dynamics, but sometimes I would go to Jay and I said, hey, Jay, these are amateur astronomers. Your knowledge is way above. And I said, Jay, I don't understand what you're talking. So can you please, when we go and have a presentation this evening, can you talk about as a novice, at what general public needs to know about astronomy and everything. So so we work as we help him, and he tells me sometimes some of the stuff that I had forgotten. If there are any special requirements for going to a country and everything. Sometimes before I could do the research, he has already found out. He said, "Mark, did you take care of that?" So so we are quite a team.
Okay. It's going to be a quick question because time is running short now. What is different, your solar eclipse, from what other people offer?
What I try to do is solar eclipse is of course the main attraction, but I try to offer people something more. There are more value to the tour. When you're going to a country, you need to not just go there to see the eclipse. You also need to experience the country, meet with the people, and so I try and add those experiences to the tour. And I'm not just doing the 3-day, 4-day, go there, fly in there, see the eclipse, and come back. Do get some clients like that, but majority of my tours are designed in a way where you are seeing the country and you're learning about it and you're experiencing it firsthand. You're interacting with the people, what their culture has, what their food is about. So I bring in all those components, and that's how I design my tours, and that's how my tours are different, because you get more value, you get more from my tours than just the astronomy tours.
So you say you're more heavy on the experience
Exactly.
than
Yes.
anything else.
Yes, exactly.
Mark, I want to thank you so much for being on my show again. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
And I have to say, you have now made me a solar eclipse chaser. I used to think all of you were crazy, so I'm one of the many crazy people, if not more.
Welcome.
And thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me on Travel Tales with Debika. As we eclipse from this show, we will be embarking onto new and more interesting eclipses, and I believe the next one will be in Argentina next year, and after that it's going to be in America. Please do join us on our many eclipse tours. Thank you.